certainly not leave at the rate that we have seen them leave in the past. I will tell you, I have received no less than 40 emails, texts, and calls from people I don't even know how they got my phone number on my personal phone. I'll be looking into that later. But in any event, just saying, Chief, we're so happy. Thank council, thank the mayor, and can I come back? And those are the kind of calls and messages that you want to get. But again, this is an historical agreement, partnership with the unions who came to the table to get this done, and certainly our mayor who came to the table with the investment in this police department. Is just fantastic. Our officers, as we know, work harder than any officers in this country, or at least as hard. They are sought after, pursued, and people are looking to employ them around this country and around this state, as evident by the posters and the billboards that we've seen recently from around the country. And when you look at what the Detroit police officers have from a training perspective, when you look at what they have from an experience perspective, you certainly understand it. But we want to keep them. And I think that this contract today gives us that opportunity to do that. And again, I can't say it enough. Thank you, City Council, for your unanimous vote today of confidence in this police department. And certainly thank you to the Board of Police Commissioners. And a very special thank you to the DPOA, the Lieutenants and Sergeants Association, sitting at the table for hours getting this done, as well as the DPCOA. So at this time, I'd like to bring our mayor up, the Honorable Mayor Duggan, for some comments.
All right. Well, thank you, Chief. Good day in the police department. Every day in the city of Detroit, we fight for small steps of progress, small steps on blight, on public safety, on jobs and economic opportunity. But every once in a while, you have a day where you make transformational progress. And today is one of those days. The $10,000 an officer raise is going to completely transform this department's ability to be fully staffed with the best police officers, to bring the starting officers' pay from $43,000 to $53,000, to bring the four-year officers' pay from $63,000 to $73,000. We are now competitive not just with the surrounding suburbs, but with many of the Midwestern cities. And our academies are full right now, and I think they'll continue to be full. We have 300 vacancies, which I expect to be entirely filled in the next year and a half. And if 40 people are coming back at a time, we may fill them even more quickly. And what it's going to mean is this: 300 more officers in this city means more officers on patrol in the neighborhoods, dealing with people who run the red lights and run the stop signs and think Detroit doesn't have enough police officers to deal with it. This is going to transform the way the leadership of this police department fights crime in this city. And for the men and women who have just been doing an extraordinary job. The first time I sat down with the police unions when Kevin Orr was the emergency manager, the cops were making $15 an hour. And were being told they were lucky to have it. I was appalled at that, and I promised them that when our revenues improved, that we would keep raising the pay until they were paid comparable to the surrounding communities. And bit by bit, we've gotten there, and I was really pleased this year to finally be able to fulfill that promise. And I would say to those who left or those who are in other departments, what we have now for the first time with the cooperation of the union is the ability to take lateral transfers, which means if you've got 4 years experience in another police department and you're a good cop, you can come here immediately at $73,000. And with a 2,500 person sworn department, there are so many more career and training opportunities in the city of Detroit that there are in other departments. And so if something inside you said you wanted to be part of a big city police department, but you couldn't afford it, now I think you'll find you're being treated fairly. We had a couple of Midwestern cities who were up here recruiting because our pay was out of whack. Those cities happen to have internal problems in their department where they've got discontent among some officers and they had to fill positions. And I have told Chief White and HR Director Patillo, I expect her to be in those Midwestern cities in the next month recruiting For people who thought they were going to pick on the city of Detroit because we were weak, we will be down in their backyards, we'll be in their malls, and we'll be recruiting in their cities to come to the city of Detroit. We're not taking it anymore. We got, as far as I'm concerned, the finest police department in America. We're taking a big step toward paying them. And I could not have been more pleased today with all the different cross currents of political messages out there to see Detroit City Council vote 9-0 to recognize that our officers deserve this pay. When it comes to backing the men and women of the police department, we speak with one voice. And I know Council President Mary Sheffield and several of the council members are here, and I'd like to invite the president and our colleagues to come up and speak at this time.
Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is truly a historic day here in the city of Detroit, and just honored to have played a role as a council to bring this to fruition for the men and women of DPD. It has been widely known for decades that attrition among the rank and file at the Detroit Police Department far exceeds the national average due to the disparity in the pay between officers from nearly all other departments across the nation. And I can honestly say that since I've been on council for 9 years, that this has been something collectively as a council we have been advocating for quite some time. All of us believe that we should raise, and we have done that today, the salaries of our officers to be commensurate to other major municipalities, and we did that, and I'm so honored to be a part of that. The pay increase is long overdue, and I'm proud to have stood with the men and women who represent some of Detroit's finest public servants. I'm also grateful that the labor representatives and membership had the foresight to allow for the city to recoup the cost of training from officers who opt to leave out and go to other municipalities shortly after that they are trained by our world-class training facility, which is big, something that council also has been advocating for quite some time. This new contract puts Detroit Police Department on a more solid ground with respect to our ability to recruit, to retrain, and to retain officers. In addition, it will go a long way to improving the morale amongst officers and ultimately, I hope, result in safer communities. I look forward to continuing to honor and respect the men and women who are heroes and sheroes every single day through sound public policy and the approval of compensation packages that illustrate our collective appreciation. I again want to thank everyone who played a role in bringing us where we are today, and I'm going to now turn it over to Chairman of the Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee, who also made sure that we got this through City Council, Councilmember Durhal.
Thank you, Madam President, and good afternoon to everyone. Today is just a great day. It is a very, very tremendous step in moving our city forward. When we talk about having a world-class city, a key component of that is public safety. Here in the city at one time where we had over 3,000 officers, and we see those numbers dwindle down because they're going to other cities or municipalities just for the simple fact that they cannot afford to protect their families or provide for their families. That type of environment can't happen in a city such as Detroit. And so today, in partnership with the mayor and the colleagues and my colleagues on council, we took a tremendous step, one of the biggest pay increases in history for the city of Detroit. And this is great. It not only attracts more officers to come here, but it keeps those here who would want to leave. And so today I am happy because those who have stuck and stayed here in the city of Detroit through it all, through times where it didn't seem if they were going to be able to provide for their families or get raises, or they may have to leave, that is indicative of just, strength, a world-class department that we have here. And I'll tell you this. This is not just our thoughts as a government. I can't tell you how much community input we get from community leaders across the city saying, what are you guys going to do for our officers? And so today, we have done that. We have put our best foot forward. We are going to continue to make this city a safer place to be and continue to be the world-class city that we all know it to be. So I'd like to thank Mayor Duggan again, as well as my colleagues on council and the DPOA, LSA, and the commanders for their commitment here to ensure that we are going to remain safe. Thank you. And with that, pardon me, I spoke on our neighborhoods. We have one of our great advocates on council, Council Member Santiago Romero.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Member Durhal. I'm here as the proud chair of our Public Health and Safety Standing Committee. Last year, while I was campaigning, I spoke to a lot of residents on their front porches, and around 70 to 80% of them told me that they did not feel as if they had sufficient police patrolling their neighborhoods. I heard countless complaints from people saying that they would call our officers after fighting or a robbery, and that no one would show up. As a taxpayer, a Detroiter, an organizer, a city council member, and as the chair of the Public Health and Safety Standing Committee, I take those complaints seriously. I did a ride-along recently with our police departments and witnessed firsthand just how much society asks of them to endure each and every day. From homicides to burglaries, gunshots to mental health calls, our police are holding a lot. Yet and still, our residents need them to respond. It is my hope that with this new labor agreements and amended budgets to raise the salaries of our officers, that we recruit residents to join DPD who want to respond to the calls of our residents, who want to provide excellent service, and want to be held accountable to their work as a public servant, as I am held accountable to my job. I'm in support of the labor agreement and budget amendments because our residents deserve excellent service and a responsive police. It is my hope that with these changes, they can feel a greater sense of safety in their neighborhoods. But that's one part of the safety equation. The other part is working to address the root causes of violence, because I do not believe, as studies have shown, and as our police chief agrees, we cannot police our way out of crime. I am very grateful to our police chief, who has been working with me to address one of the biggest issues our city faces, the lack of mental health care services. We want to do more as a city. We need to do more as a city, as a state, and as a country to address the lack of investment. The reality is that our police have seen an influx of mental health calls since the beginning of the pandemic. 50 to 60% of these calls are non-violent mental health calls, meaning that our already stretched thin police force is using their resources to respond to a call that a mental health care provider or social worker should be addressing. We need to fix this, and we are working on it. I'm excited to share that the police chief and I are actively discussing a non-police response program to address our non-violent mental health calls. Other cities like Denver and Portland already have these programs, and I believe Detroit should be next. I'm committed to answering the calls of my residents when they say that they need a more responsive police force and addressing the root causes of crime. This isn't an either or, rather a both and. We have an opportunity here to invest in proven programs that have helped increase public safety. Our chief believes in good policing. I believe in good governance. And the chief and I agree that our residents deserve safer and healthy communities and opportunities to thrive. I look forward to our growing partnership, and thank you, Chief White, for working together with me to serve our beautiful city. With that, I will turn it over to Member Young.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for recognizing this police agreement as a priority for the Detroit community, for our neighborhoods. Thank you, Chief White, for understanding the importance of the Detroit Police Department in providing public safety to our residents, our seniors, our families, our babies. Thank you. This is the moment that we have been waiting for, when we pay our police officers what they deserve. This is what equity, and particularly pay equity, is all about. The public safety of our communities is a priority for our city government. We are thankful for the courageous service of the men and women in blue. We are eternally grateful for them for keeping us safe, and I tell them that every time I see them in the street. They truly represent Detroit's finest. We thank the administration for working out a package that pays the police more in line with the level of safety we expect them to provide to our citizens. Thank you.
At this time, I want to hear from the unions, if we can. Just if we can have the Lieutenant Sergeant Association President Mark Young come up.
Good evening. I'm Lieutenant Mark Young, the president of the Detroit Police Lieutenants and Sergeants Association. Accountability, appreciation, value, and respect. That's what inconsistency comes out of this agreement. We're building upward. We're building better. The men and women of the Detroit Police Department face increasing violence every day, and they do it. And this agreement gives them some appreciation, some respect, and it shows value. The wages are one thing, but I got to give credit where credit is due. I want to thank Chief James White for being a chief that didn't walk in the room about himself. He walked in the room about this department and others. I appreciate that. When you talk about the wages, that's one thing, but there's some other contributing factors in there. That tuition reimbursement, that education incentive, those are things that make our department not only more accountable, but it makes them more valuable with better training, critical thinking. That is the accountability factor. And Chief, I thank you. I thank you for your efforts. I thank you for walking in the room and changing the tone of the room on several occasions. Mr. Mayor, I thank you as well. City Council, I thank you. I appreciate you, Council President. I appreciate you very much, Councilman Durham, and the Deputy Mayor. I want to tell you, the men and women of this department are awesome. They appreciate what's going on today, but understand this, we all got to do better. Don't just hold us accountable. This society needs to hold itself accountable, and together we'll turn this all around together. There's a lot of great things happening in this city. If you look around it, we're building upward. This is a major step in taking us to the world-class city that I envision, that I live here in, and I thank you for that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for those wonderful words, Lieutenant Young. At this time, the president of the DPOA, Craig Miller.
How's everybody doing today? I'm Craig Miller, Detroit Police Officers Association. My membership and I would like to thank City Council, the Mayor, and Chief White for all the assistance in bringing this together to show our membership that they are supportive of us. And we will be here for a long time for the city of Detroit, the citizens, and that's our main job, is to come here and support them and get supported by the members behind me. And we appreciate everything that's been done for us. Thank you.
There are a lot of thank yous. Also, the Board of Police Commissioners, thank you for your continued support and your lobbying as well for our raises. We appreciate you as well. At this time, we will take any questions.
Chief, the mayor alluded to this, with the new deal, is going to mean more police on the streets, more hiring?
Oh, absolutely, it's going to mean that. We have about 90 in the academy right now that'll be deployed. This will allow us to deploy more to the field, more to the streets, more to the neighborhoods, address our traffic problem. We have a number of people that are simply driving too fast, so we want to get the officers into neighborhoods. You know, right now they're going from run to run. This allows them to do some proactive policing, some safety gear policing, some teaching, some training for speeders. Every speeder doesn't get a ticket. Some people just get warnings. So I hear from our neighborhoods daily on, can we slow these cars down? The three-wheeler situation that we're going to be super focused on, I've already told the team, this has my full attention, and it's a safety issue for our community. So we'll have the resources available to really deal with those types of situations.
Also, after the vote today, the Porter Burke situation came up in council as well. A letter from you was read. Can you just update us on the investigation and when it's going to go to the prosecutor?
Yeah, well, you know, today is about the raise for the officers, and I don't want to conflate the issues. But as I indicated in my statement, I will continue to be transparent. We're going to turn over our investigation once it's completed. It's being led by the Michigan State Police. When that investigation is concluded, as with all officer-involved shootings, it'll be turned over to the prosecutor's office. She and I talked today. We've talked a number of times about the investigation and the status of the investigation. It's still active, and when she receives it, she's going to do a review, and there'll be an announcement following that.
Thank you, Chief.
All right. I also want to thank, lastly, my team. I get a lot of the credit, but Assistant Chief Fitzgerald, Assistant Chief Eric Ewing, and Deputy Chief Franklin Hayes. I hope they're behind me, if they could wave their hand. Spent many hours at the table and really going through every sentence. And Hakeem Berry, I hope he's here, and certainly our Deputy Mayor and our HR Director, Director Patillo. Many hours of work to get us to this point, research and looking at competitive wages across the country. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment just to acknowledge and thank each and every one of them. And thank you all for attending. Have a good day.